Hey guys, Tammy here. And in this video, I'm going to talk about I'm surrounded by narcissists. And I don't know if you've had this experience yet in your life. This is an experience I had when I went through my divorce from my first husband. I just remember starting to feel like, wow, this isn't just something I'm dealing with in my marriage. This is something I'm dealing with in multiple areas of my life. And so I want to talk about why that happens. And then I want to talk about what you can do to change it, of course, because that's really what the bottom line is how do we stop repeating these kinds of patterns? Before we dive into this topic, let me just remind you, if you like this content, you find it helpful, don't forget to hit like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so that you get notified as new videos are released. And also, let me just tell you that about 70% of you watching this have not subscribed to the channel. So please, please, please go do that. It's a way that you can show me love for the content that I try to put out to help you. So I help you, you help me. It's a win-win, right? So I would appreciate that if you would do that. Now, let's talk about when you're surrounded by narcissists, because I have a very explicit memory of this. It's been about 20 years ago. So this is going to tell you how significant that event actually was for me, because it has stuck with me this long. And I went into a therapy appointment. I was in therapy for probably about a year and a half before the disintegration of my marriage, and then probably about another year post disintegration or post breaking point, I guess I should say. And I went into this therapy appointment and I said to her, I just don't understand. I feel like I am surrounded by jerks. I'm surrounded by jerks. Only I used a not so nice word substitute for jerks. But I said, I feel like my husband's being a jerk. My boss is just a complete and utter jerk. And I was really, really frustrated because it felt like there was no reprieve. Like everywhere I turned, this level of jerkiness was essentially what I was dealing with. And I remember her looking at me and saying, well, I have one question for you. And I said, what? And she said, why do you keep surrounding yourself with jerks? And, that was one of those moments for me where, like when you're watching a movie and everything kind of freeze frames, it was a freeze frame moment for me. And it was kind of like, wow, why do I keep surrounding myself with jerks? The point of that question is it's within your control. Right. But I had not really tumbled to that fact when I was having this discussion with her. So it felt to me like something that had happened to me. Right. I'm married to this kind of person. Now I happen to have a boss that's this kind of person. And why is the universe? Why is God? Why is this happening? Why am I surrounded by all of these difficult people was really kind of my question. And she really flipped that on me and kind of said, well, why are you allowing this essentially? That really caused me to take a hard look at things. And the thing it really did is open my eyes to the fact that this was within my control. I think a lot of times when we're going through really difficult things like this, we can get really frustrated, right? And we get stressed and we're anxious and frustrated and scared and all of the negative emotions. And those negative emotions can really put us into victim mode, right? We can really start feeling sorry for ourselves, feeling like everything that's happening is happening to us. And that really puts you in a negative state of mind. And so when she was able to kind of flip that script a little bit for me and go, look, there's things you can do about this. Like if you don't like your job, change it. If you don't like your marriage, change it, fix it, do something. And, I'm not advocating for divorce in any way. I'm not saying that. I'm very much not in favor of divorce. I think it's a very traumatic, difficult experience at best, and I wouldn't, recommend anybody just casually venture into it. And I don't think her point was necessarily divorcing my ex-husband. She was just saying, like, you get what you tolerate from people. And so I went back to my office after this conversation, and I sat down at my desk, and I was working at the University of California at the time. And so I was, in a large system with many, many job openings. And so I just sat down and started applying for jobs. I started applying for jobs 1 to 2 to 3 pay grades above where I was. I just applied for everything that it looked like I was remotely qualified for, and I just started applying. And I probably, I'm sure I put in over 25 to 30 applications, might have even been close to 50. I don't know. But I applied for pretty much everything that was open and available that I felt like I was remotely qualified for. And funny enough, I got a new job within about 30 days within the same system. I was 2 pay grades higher, and I worked for this very kind man who was very, very flexible with me. And, I had kids and, all this kind of stuff. The funny thing is that actually the work was not as stressful as what my current job had been. Probably not even as demanding either. And, it was a little more technical. So the pay was higher, job grade was higher. But I had this, and it cut my commute, like where it was located within the system, because University of California obviously is a large employer. And so where it put me, it moved me to a different location with this job, and it probably cut about 15 to 20 minutes off my commute. So it was just like win, win, win. And I think that when that happened, it was kind of like, oh, wow, I really can do something about this. It sort of confirmed that for me. And so I think what happened is then I sort of, looked at my relationship and said, I'm not willing to tolerate this. I mean, I had my ex-husband had an affair and all these kinds of things. And I tried to reconcile from it. And what I started to do is just demand the transparency. I'm like, there's certain things I'm not tolerating. There's certain things we're not doing. I am sort of demanding that transparency. I'm demanding that you be open and honest, that you not hide your phone, that you not, like, just setting my boundaries of what I was willing to tolerate, and not in a like jerky or throwing it up to him, that he had affairs kind of way, but just saying like, look, there's healing that needs to happen here. And in order for me to heal, this is what I need from you. And ultimately, he wasn't willing to do what I needed him to do for me to heal. And so over the course of the next few months, everything kind of disintegrated even more. And then, of course, I ended up divorced because the affairs continued mostly. But the point of it is us deciding what we are and aren't willing to tolerate in our life. So if you're not willing to tolerate narcissistic behavior, then, you may not be able to eliminate all of that tomorrow, but you can take steps to eliminate a lot of that. And it does become your own healing journey of recognizing when people are treating you this way, what those red flags are, because until you can identify the different red flags and characteristics of narcissism, there's not much you can do about it, right? So the first step to that is identifying the issues. But then beyond that, you again have to be able to draw your own healthy boundaries so that you can eliminate people in your life that are going to treat you that way and take advantage of you in that way. People will treat you the way you will allow them to, right? That's a very common quote that I love, and it is very true. So when you start to heal from this is when you start to recognize it. And that is step one. But then step two is starting to implement things that will actually allow you to have healthy relationships in your life. And a lot of that comes from healing your own past traumas and your own childhood things of why you're in this type of narcissistic relationship. And I think that's different for everybody. I don't think I can, tell you what that is for you. I can tell you that for me, and I was actually having a conversation with somebody, another woman, about this the other day, where I was raised in a very conservative Christian home. And so the message that I constantly got was tolerance for other people, right? Like turning the other cheek and always having grace, and not just having tolerance for different ideas, but like having, grace and tolerance to the point that you sacrifice your own self for that other person's well-being. And I wasn't taught that when it goes to that level, it's unhealthy, right? There's a certain amount of grace and forgiveness that we give to other people, but when it starts becoming a sacrifice of your own mental health and well-being, then that's a problem. Then that's called a toxic relationship, right? And I was not taught about that. So I think some introspection about what created this for you and trying to heal those wounds is key in helping you be able to identify it and draw the boundaries moving forward so that you aren't surrounded by narcissists anymore. If you would like help on this journey, determining, these narcissistic flags, determining how to get yourself out of these situations, figuring out how to heal from this, then I would love to talk to you. You can go to my website, divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. There is a link on that page. You can book a time to speak to a member of my staff and learn more about my services and how I might be able to support you on this journey. See you guys next time.
We'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands.